Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to plunge into some fascinating sources and pull out the most powerful ideas. And today, we're tackling a really extraordinary work. It challenges, it provokes, and maybe surprisingly, it kind of liberates. It's Friedrich Nietzsche's The Gay Science, or La Gaia Scienza. Now, this isn't your typical dense philosophy book. It's more like a vibrant collection, aphorisms, poems, deep thoughts all jumbled together. Nietzsche himself kind of gives us a clue in the preface. He says it's written in the language of the wind that thaws ice and snow, high spirits, unrest, contradiction, and April weather. Kind of captures that feeling, doesn't it?
It really does. And it's important context, too, that the first edition was 1882, but then he added quite a lot in 1887 for the second edition. A whole new preface, Book V, even an appendix of songs. We're mostly drawing from the Walter Kaufmann translation today, which really does a great job.
Right. So our mission here is to help you navigate these, let's be honest, often pretty radical ideas Nietzsche has about truth, morality, and, what it actually means to live a flourishing life. We want to get under the skin of why these ideas still hit so hard today.
And one of the first things that jumps out, it's fascinating, is how Nietzsche just directly links a thinker's health, their physical state, even to their philosophy.
Right.
He basically suggests our deepest beliefs might just emerge from our bodies, which makes you stop and think, right? What if philosophy has often been, as he puts it, merely an interpretation of the body and a misunderstanding of the body?
That is a wild thought to start with. Okay, but the title itself, The Gay Science, it feels almost, counterintuitive for Nietzsche, who many associate with really heavy, dark stuff. What's the deal there?
Yeah, it's a great question. He explains it in the preface, actually. He calls the gay science the saturnalia of a spirit who has patiently resisted a terrible long pressure and who is now all at once attacked by hope, the hope for health, and the intoxication of convalescence. It's that feeling of recovery. So it's this rejoicing of strength that is returning, a renewed faith in tomorrow. It's not gay like just happy-go-lucky, but gay in the sense of light, joyful, a vibrant kind of knowing.
Okay, so I'm getting this picture of, it's not simple happiness, it's fought for, a kind of defiant joy, maybe, an insight born from really getting through something tough. It makes me think of that poem, My Happiness in the Prelude. Since I grew tired of the chase and search, I learned to find, and since the wind blows in my face, I sail with every wind. That feels very different.
Exactly. That poem nails it. And it really highlights this deep connection he sees between health, psychological, physical, and our ability to think deeply. He even says, for a psychologist, there are few questions that are as attractive as that concerning the relation of health and philosophy. He reckons some philosophies are born from lack, from deprivations, while others spring from riches and strengths. He even imagines needing a philosophical physician to look at the total health of humanity.
Wow. He's really pushing us then to consider that what we think of as truth, objective truth, might just be symptoms, expressions of our physical or psychological state. That's pretty subversive.
Totally subversive. And it links to another key idea. He believes that only great pain is the ultimate liberator of the spirit. Pain becomes the teacher of the great suspicion. It forces us deeper, he thinks, transforms us into light and flame. And this perspective, this facing of difficulty, allows for a kind of new happiness precisely because you're embracing that life is problematic. The joy comes from wrestling with it.
Right. Okay, let's shift to maybe the most famous, certainly the most unsettling line from The Gay Science. The madman shouting, "God is dead! God remains dead, and we have killed him." I mean, that echoed through the whole 20th century.
It absolutely did. But for Nietzsche, it's important to see it less as a triumphant yell and more as a stark observation, a huge historical, cultural event. He calls it the greatest recent event. What he means is that for European consciousness, the very belief in the Christian God has just become unbelievable. It's a statement about a massive shift.
So if that foundation God is gone, what happens to everything built on it? What are the real consequences for our morals, our values, our whole sense of purpose if that anchor isn't there anymore?
Well, Nietzsche foresaw a huge breakdown, destruction, ruin, and cataclysm coming, especially for the whole of our European morality.
Yeah.
Remember, the madman says, "I have come too early. This tremendous event is still on its way. It has not yet reached the ears of men." People just hadn't grasped the full earth-shattering implications yet. And maybe we still haven't.
But it's interesting, for Nietzsche himself and these free spirits he talks about, it doesn't seem to lead to pure despair. He actually describes the immediate feeling as a new and scarcely describable kind of light, relief, exhilaration, encouragement, dawn. And then that famous line, "The sea, our sea, lies open again, Perhaps there has never yet been such an open sea. That sounds almost hopeful.
Yes, that sense of openness. But it also leads him to this really deep self-questioning in the aphorism, how we too are still pious. He
Yeah.
starts questioning our own deep faith in truth itself, this unconditional will to truth. He suggests maybe that faith is just another metaphysical faith, like religion, something we cling to. And then he asks this really provocative question. Could this drive for absolute truth actually be a kind of concealed will to death? What if life actually needs illusion, error, semblance to even function? Why this relentless demand for truth at all costs?
That's a really unsettling question, and it seems to lead right into his critique of conventional morality, doesn't it? Seeing it less as absolute, more like a herd instinct.
Exactly. That's a central point. In the aphorism herd instinct, he's very clear. Morality trains the individual to be a function of the herd and to ascribe value to himself only as a function. And he points out, different communities needed different things to survive, so hence their very different moralities. What's good isn't fixed, it depends on the herd's needs.
And here's where it gets really interesting for us today. He says that for ages, being an individual, being alone, experiencing things for yourself, that wasn't a good thing. It was a punishment. You were sentenced to individuality. That's so hard for us to wrap our heads around now.
It really is, because we value individuality so highly now. He elaborates that egoism, self-interest, was seen as painful and real misery back then. It just shows how much our sense of self is a historical product, not some timeless given.
So what's the underlying point here? Is he saying most people just don't think critically about their own beliefs?
Pretty much. He says the great majority of people lack an intellectual conscience. They just accept beliefs without really examining them. This is unlike the higher human beings he talks about, who feel the craving and the rapture of such questioning. It's not about being smarter, necessarily, but about having the guts to question yourself.
Right. And he uses the contrast between monotheism and polytheism to make this point sharper.
Yes, it's a fascinating argument. Monotheism, he says, with its focus on one normal human type, was maybe the greatest danger humanity faced because it limited perspectives. Polytheism, on the other hand, allowed for a plurality of norms, for different ways of being, and it nurtured the rights of individuals, fostering the strength to create for ourselves our own new eyes. More diversity of thought.
Okay, so faced with all this dissolving values, herd mentality, how are we supposed to move forward? He talks about becoming artists of our lives.
Exactly. That's the constructive part. He says we should learn from artists how they make things beautiful, attractive, and desirable for us when they are not. We can learn their tricks, like how to move away from things until there's a good deal that one no longer sees, or look through tinted glasses. The aim is to be the poets of our life, first of all, in the smallest, most everyday matters. It's about consciously crafting our experience.
And that links to his call to give style to one's character. He calls it a great and rare art. It means taking everything, strengths, weaknesses, all of it, and fitting it into an artistic plan. So the goal is ultimately that a human being should attain satisfaction with himself, designing a life you can affirm.
And he contrasts this very deliberately with just having a firm reputation. Society likes predictability, right? He remains the same. But Nietzsche says that's terrible for the search after knowledge. True seekers need the freedom to declare themselves at any time dauntlessly against their previous opinions. Growth means being willing to change your mind, even if it looks inconsistent.
So who are these people capable of this kind of radical self-creation, this constant questioning? He calls them the fearless ones, the preparatory human beings.
That's right. Book 5 is actually titled, We Fearless Ones. It opens with that amazing quote from Marshal Turan talking to his trembling body. Carcass, you tremble. You would tremble even more if you knew where I'm taking you. That's the spirit.
Wow, the courage to face the unknown, even your own fear. And he connects this directly to living dangerously. That sounds intense.
Hey, it is intense. He says, living dangerously is the secret for harvesting from existence the greatest fruitfulness and the greatest enjoyment. And he gives these vivid commands. Build your cities on the slopes of Vesuvius. Send your ships into uncharted seas. Live at war with your peers and yourselves. These people, these preparatory human beings, they know how to be silent, lonely, resolute. They're constant in invisible activities. It's not about being reckless. It's about actively choosing challenge.
So it paints this picture of constant striving, constant self-overcoming, like you said, embarking, becoming a wanderer who's left shore and burned the bridges, really embracing the unknown of life.
And crucial to this is what he calls the great health. This isn't just being well, it's a dynamic state. It's a health that one does not merely have, but also acquires continually, because one gives it up again and again and must give it up. You have to keep earning it. This kind of health is stronger, more seasoned, tougher, more audacious, and gayer. There's that word again, allowing you to play naively with all that was hitherto called holy, good, untouchable, divine. It's a robust, resilient engagement with everything.
He also calls these people homeless, doesn't he? Children of the future. He sees the present age, despite all its self-congratulation about being humane and righteous, as actually showing signs of weakening, of weariness of old age.
Exactly. These individuals, these good Europeans, have inherited Europe's legacy, but have outgrown Christianity and the dominant morality. They're looking beyond the current horizon.
Okay, we've covered a lot. Smashing old values, the freedom and danger of creating yourself. But what's the ultimate test, the deepest question that defines this whole way of being?
That has to be the greatest weight. Aphorism 341. It's a thought experiment. He asks you to imagine a demon visiting you in your loneliest loneliness. And the demon says, "This life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more, and there will be nothing new in it. But every pain and every joy and every thought and sigh will have to return to you, all in the same succession and sequence, even this spider in this moonlight between the trees, and even this moment and I myself."
Wow. And then the challenge he puts to you, listening right now. Would you not throw yourself down and gnash your teeth and curse the demon who spoke thus? Or have you once experienced a tremendous moment when you would have answered him, "You are a god, and never have I heard anything more divine"? That thought alone, he says, could transform you, or maybe just crush you.
It's incredibly powerful. The implication is, if you knew you had to live this exact life over and over, forever, how would that change how you act now? The question, do you desire this once more and innumerable times more, becomes the greatest weight on every single action. It forces you to ask yourself, how ill-disposed would you have to become to yourself and to life to crave nothing more fervently than this ultimate eternal confirmation and seal? Could you love your life enough to want it again, exactly as it is, forever?
That's a profound challenge. And it ties directly into his idea of amor fati, right? Love of fate.
Precisely. In the aphorism for the new year, he talks about learning to see as beautiful what is necessary in things, to become only a yes-sayer to existence. It's not just putting up with your fate, it's actively loving it, embracing every single part, the good, the bad, the ugly, as necessary, as beautiful even.
So wrapping this up, we've journeyed through quite a landscape today. From the joy of recovery through the shock waves of God is dead, critiquing that herd morality, embracing self-artistry, and living dangerously. And finally, facing that ultimate test of eternal recurrence.
Yeah, and if we zoom out, the gay science feels like this urgent, almost demanding invitation, an invitation for you, the listener, to become, as he says, new, unique, incomparable, who give themselves their own laws, who create themselves. It's a call to develop that intellectual conscience, to really question everything, especially your own deepest beliefs, to become a true critical thinker about your own existence.
Right. What this deep dive really shows us is that for Nietzsche, becoming who you are means becoming the best learners and discoverers of everything that is lawful and necessary in the world. You have to become like a physicist, but studying yourself and your values. It means accepting that life itself has become a problem, but then somehow finding a new happiness right there in the uncertainty and that constant striving for self-knowledge. And maybe the final thought to leave you with comes from his description of the great health. He asks, how can we be satisfied with people today when another ideal runs ahead of us, a strange, tempting, dangerous ideal, the ideal of a spirit who plays naively, with all that was hitherto called holy, good, untouchable, divine? The challenge, really, is to try and live up to that new, infinite possibility, to embrace, as he says, the great seriousness that only truly begins when you step onto that open sea.